Okay, had a bit of a connection issue there, so I had to basically cut the stream and start it again. But we didn't really get started here. To put it in perspective, once again, Diamond Heights, we did start with just over 500 guests in the park. In 3 years, we were able to get over 1,000. So this park, 1,000 guests at the end of year four. It is a very large park. Space won't be an issue here. Terrain, for the most part, there is a lot of flat land around this park. There are a couple of larger hills here in the center, and also one at the entrance, but they really shouldn't pose any issues as far as building rides goes. But the game is paused right now, and I will just um, disable the brakes failure is the only thing I'm going to do here. But the only concern about a park this large is that there are a lot of established paths, and there are a lot of different ways to go. And typically, I would like for a park to have many different ways to go. The crowds will be able to kind of distribute themselves evenly throughout throughout the property, but in this case, the paths for somebody coming into the park, especially if you start building rides up here or along here, if you don't have stuff in the back of the park right here, people are going to get lost. I don't believe, yes, the information kiosk has to be researched. There are some food options in a restroom already, though, so um, that's good enough to get rolling. And yeah, other than that, some of these paths will have to be cut off. The park is open by default. There is nothing to do in the park yet, but I'm going to keep it open just because when we do start building stuff, um, it will allow for people to start spending money and you start to get some of that money back. As far as the loan goes, it is a $10,000 loan, and there are some decent coaster varieties off the start: the mini coaster, the junior coaster, the wooden coaster. The Scrambler is the only thrill ride that is available, but those can obviously be researched. There are a couple of general rides as well, and there are the boat hire or the boat decks as well. Something like a monorail or a railroad may be very beneficial to use in this park. Even if we don't do a full loop around the perimeter of the property, I might just build something kind of in the center, something that goes around the small lake so that somebody can theoretically get on the monorail here and it can take them to the back portion of the park without having to walk the whole way. Not a lot in when it comes to terrain, except for in the back of the park, once again, that isn't as much of a concern, but it is a very large property. So people definitely get fatigued if they go walking around the edge of the park. They're not really doing nothing. They'll want to leave very quickly. So I'm just going to cut off some of these paths to begin with. It's a very good idea for anyone playing this scenario. You don't have to remove them completely, but just cut them off so that maybe people are only limited to this front half of the park to start. This way they won't get lost. This way, if you start, especially if you start building around this edge of the park to begin with, you're not going to get a lot of messages that people are getting lost back here, and that can also affect your park rating big time. You need a park rating of 600, which isn't very hard to obtain. There are a lot of benches and litter bins already installed around the paths, so that's why I wouldn't suggest anyone demolish them. But stuff like this is a very dead end kind of dock right here. Very easy to remove this. Maybe you cut the path off here and here sort of, and all of these little avenues down here so that people aren't going to wander very quickly. So that's exactly what I'm going to do to start. We do have 4 years in this scenario, so time won't be wasted essentially by taking a few minutes here and just cutting off some of these paths. So I'm just going to go ahead. Right here's one. I'm going to remove this dock completely because it's not really serving a purpose right now. That can be replicated if need be. Coming over here, this can be eliminated. This can be eliminated. This is fine for now. And then over here as well, that pathway can be eliminated. And then when the time comes, once you need more capacity and you're putting in more rides, these can easily be reconnected. But let me just make sure that I didn't miss any of these. And we'll cut this one off as well, this little bit. So basically, I'm not going to worry too much about what's in place. There are some pathways here that definitely kind of snake around, but the big thing is only half of the park right now is going to be walkable by the guests. This back half of the park we can save until more is developed back there. Um, so research. Let's see here. Maximum funding. We'll start with the information kiosk, like I typically do, just because the guests are going to need park maps in this property. It's probably going to be very necessary to build more than one information kiosk, maybe two or three total property, because people who pass up the park map at the entrance, they're definitely going to need one back here because there are a lot of different ways to go. There isn't really a clear cut way back to the entrance. You kind of have to find one of these pathways and then snake your way around until you find the main drag. Um, so there isn't really much here in terms of rides. I guess that a scrambler can be installed here. And what I'm going to do actually is one thing I usually do. I usually put it up here because it's a flat piece of space. Um, I usually because it's a 3x3 ride, but in order to install the entrance, you need to um, remove the path that's existing up there. And then I'm going to flatten this just a little bit so that we can get the ride in and install this. So this can go there and there, connect it to the path, and maybe the red, the queue line. Just something simple there, and I'll kind of replenish the what was left over. Oh, so that may actually be gone. What I removed. Some of these scenery items. Yeah, unfortunately, some of the scenery items are not available. So these pillars, they may be available under walls, but the pillars aren't something that you can get back after you delete. I probably should have preserved the statue that was there. I wanted to keep that for excitement value for this ride. We'll come back to it. I believe there is a Roman theming. Um, as for handymen, I'm going to make sure that the handymen are all on this side of property. Only going to need a couple here to start. And in fact, one of them I'm going to put right in by the flowers because the flowers are going to need watering. So he's going to be limited just to this small area right here. One handyman, one mechanic is really all we need. I'll begin by testing this ride. And I believe that was a statue of Cupid that was up in this kind of Roman plaza area. So I'll give the ride sort of a Cupid theme. There we go. And maybe a red and a pink will sort of work for this. Um, I will maximize the rotations for this ride, considering we don't really need to worry about people getting on and off of this quickly. And I'll put the music on 265. Okay, so 250 for this ride. And once this is open, people should at least start entering the park. This is always a good area. I like to use shops and stalls right here because the hedges end up getting destroyed because they're all on the insides of the blocks. But it's a good area for shops and stalls. I'm gonna go ahead. A restroom would be a good idea to install right up here, just so it's there when it's needed, and wouldn't be a bad idea either for a drink stall. Maybe the drink stall goes there, and the burger bar also goes there. There are some benches around here, so that is preferable when it comes to your park rating and people enjoying the food and all that. Okay, so open those up. They're not going to profit right away, but they're there for when they're needed. And I'll also put a merry-go-round in. We have the money. We really haven't spent anything yet. One hard thing to deal with the scenario is once you start demolishing a lot of trees or a lot of shrubbery, scenery, it will cost money. Some of it you can get money back for, but a lot of it you will end up paying for. So you have to be careful very early on if you're building stuff that you're not really building it in an area where you're going to be spending just as much to remove landscaping as you are to install the ride. So merry-go-round there. Maybe I'll go with the light orange for this. Orange and yellow. Um, Simply call it merry-go-round. Test it. So that's a couple of rides right up front here at the park. It'll at least get some people in to the park. Probably about 50 to 100 people just in these two rides right there. In fact, nobody is in the park yet except for this guest. This guest is always in the park. They're always on their way out right when you start the scenario. I don't know why or what purpose it serves, but and I was thinking the information kiosk can go right here. But I was thinking, okay, so now we have the shops and stalls, thrill rides and roller coasters, maximum funding. That will be good to get things going here. Um, I typically don't do this, but just because we don't have anybody here in the park, maybe something like a 4-week advertising campaign, something that's not going to break the bank immediately, but we'll get some people into the park because these rides don't seem to be generating anybody yet. Usually, once you put in the first flat ride or so, that alone will start to get things going. Okay. So information kiosk is in, restroom, a couple of stalls just to start, and the advertising campaign. The park is open, so there's no reason why people shouldn't start entering the park at this point. Um. Oh, the park entrance fee is too high. Okay, I didn't realize that there is an entrance fee for this property. I'm just going to remove it because it is going to be more profitable down the line to charge per ride rather than try to juggle a very low entrance fee. We're not going to make money off of charging. If people are complaining about $1 entrance fee to get in, it's going to be very difficult to raise that fee. I totally forgot that this scenario starts with one, and now people are starting to come in right away. So as far as coasters go, it's probably a good idea to lay one down. There's a ride over here. There's a ride sort of in the center of the park. This is always a good area. I always like using this area sort of for the first big coaster because it's close enough. All these pathways are cut off, but it's close enough to the main entrance. It gets people moving around all around the sort of perimeter of the pathways right now. There is something to do at each end. So there is some flat space up here as well, but we already do have a ride operating here. There is a lot of flat space here, but at the same time, there is already an established path and a lot of trees in the way. So we're likely going to have to sacrifice a lot of those in order to build anything. This edge of the park is cut off. That will be for future development. And pretty much the park comes around here, and it's this front half. I don't want to start building around terrain just yet with all the flat land available. And at the same time, there is a decent amount of money left in the bank to at least start constructing this first major ride. So the mini coaster is doable. It is probably the least expensive one with the junior coaster. There is also the wooden coaster, which will be more expensive, but will bring a lot of people into the park right away. Very similar to the Leafy Lake scenario. The wooden coaster was the first one that I built, and it did very well. It really pulled its weight in bringing a couple hundred people into into the gate just for that attraction. I don't know if I want to disturb this yet. I don't want to build over the water. This may be over here. This may be the best plot of land to build on. However, at the same time, it is also the most slender plot of land. And if you get anywhere inside the center of the park right here, you're going to spend a lot in removing these flowers. I also like the way they look. They will add to the park rating. They will add to the value of the park. This is going to cost a lot to demolish, whereas over here there is some more open space. Um, I may start the coaster right here. This path is active. I may start it right here, have it go over the water and then over the pathway and around, sort of a small out and back wooden roller coaster. So we're gonna go with the custom design. I will start the entrance. We'll start it back here, and I'll do it a few blocks above the ground, just so that when we loop it back, when I loop it back around over here, there will be enough clearance between the pathway and the coaster to be able to perform this maneuver. Small drop out of the station, a turnaround right over the water, into the lift hill. Gotta enable chain lift. And I will demolish just a couple of these trees here. I am expecting to take out some more money on the loan. This loan will probably be gone halfway through the design. But 85 feet, that's what we have been going for the design so far in the other scenarios. I'll keep it right about there. They have been producing some decent ratings, and going way too overboard, there isn't going to be enough space to essentially build this whole ride around. I could also go in this direction as well. That may be an option. Um, it's about equal space on both sides, maybe a little bit more over here. There are some more trees to deal with, but those can be built over if money becomes an issue. So, I don't know. Maybe do one of those. But those super wide turns there, they're gonna cause a problem. Um, as far as I only want to turn once. Yeah, so this may be a very good way to start it. I could also bring it around here and make it much longer in this direction. It will take up a lot of the park, and I don't believe that there is land to buy in this property. There is not, so it's very much like Diamond Heights, but you get more than enough land here. You can pack a lot of rides in a lot of creative ways to be able to build in this scenario. So I'm going to go right into the steep drop, get some speed going. Um, Looks like I'm probably, yeah, I'm gonna run into that there. So maybe it's time to start turning it around. And this may be sort of an oddball design where I could interact with the water here. I could bring a drop down, a diagonal drop over the water, which is something I may do, and then bring it back around over this plot of land and sort of loop it around to come back to the station. Um, may do something a little bit non-traditional here. We did start at 85 feet, so 50 feet into another steep drop. Gonna have to start cut back on it already here. And maybe the coaster already goes sort of over the lake. Um, Maybe it cuts back through over this pathway, and then it does its thing. It comes back around and back to the station. So I sort of like the way that looks. Maybe over the water here, kind of do another airtime moment. And we're already running out of cash here, so I'll increase the loan. I don't know how much they let you take out. 40,000. Okay, so that's more than enough. I'll increase it to 15 from 10. probably should be able to get this coaster done in another $10,000 in game money. So typically I don't like building over the water, but I like the way on the diagonal how this looks. Um, maybe it does another diagonal element here, interacts with the paths. And it's going to end up going over these shrubs, but that's okay. A speed hill over the pathway. This should be enough clearance to get over this path as well. I see it sort of doing maybe a small helix here into another hill or two and back to the brakes. Um, Again, it's not going to be a very big wooden coaster. We haven't had the space really to build very large designs in the scenario so far. It isn't a Six Flags park, or it isn't something where there's a lot of open land meant to give you a lot of space to build the coasters. But every coaster has kind of taken its own character so far, and that's all right. So maybe running out of cash again. This thing's going to be more expensive than I figured, but we're going to need the money, or the guests rather, very quickly in this park. So sort of a figure eight type of deal here. Maybe it goes back up. I'm trying to see here. This may be a very, very sharp hill. I'll have to see what the forces are for it. Oop, didn't mean to hit exit. Maybe an on-ride photo section just to add some more revenue to this ride, depending on what the stats will be. Maybe fit in something like this if the land will allow for it. Um, yeah, so this path may have to be joined in a different way. One, oh, we'll just get rid of it for now, considering don't really need it. Some brakes, black brakes, and sort of a larger S-bend back to the station platform. And that should be long enough of a station for what it will be used for. So another moderate scale wooden coaster here, sort of a twister design, but it has a few hills over the lake. I'm going to be curious to see exactly what stats it will produce when it gets tested, if it will be too fast in sections or if the laterals will be too high, especially around an area like this. But I'm going to go for a few minutes. I'm going to grab some food and I will be right back. All right, so I'm back. Um, just ate some dinner. That's all. So we have our wooden coaster here, and kind of built it down, steep drop, go over the water. It's not going to be very long, but it is taking up a very substantial portion of the land on this side. It is nice because it will leave some flat space for flat rides or stalls. Go ahead and unpause. I may have to modify this part right here, either breaking it a little bit or redoing this turn, because I'm expecting this to be a very intense portion of the ride. Other than that, though, I think I'm going to start adding in the entrance exit ramps while I wait for it to test. That's going to need to be like that. It's sort of a very odd design. Um, Actually, this may be perfect speed if it can make it over. Yeah, that's not bad at all in terms of speed. I didn't really catch much of it because I was building the path right here. So it goes down the drop into a banked turn, another drop. A lot of drops on this one, a lot of drops taken in rapid succession. Then it kind of goes into the figure eight element, loses a lot of speed on the second half of the coaster, but that should be just fine considering that if you take turns too quickly on these coasters, you will get a very high intensity rating. And the intensity rating is indeed very high, but nothing in the extreme. It does generate almost, you will be able to charge $6.50 out of this ride. So I think that's a very good building block kind of to start with. Adding some scenery around it will be able to boost that excitement rating a little bit more. What to name it? I'll name it Wicked Twister. I've kind of reused some of these names from other parks. Wicked Twister, of course, is an impulse coaster from Cedar Point, but I think the name works well for this ride. As for the colors, I do like the default colors that it came with, and even the yellow trains. Maybe one train can be yellow and one train can be like a blue, kind of wicked twistery colors. So admission price can go up to 650 here, and on ride photo to 3. So that's a potential for almost $10 just from this ride. That's a very good starting point. I'll make, we do kind of have the classical pillar, and actually I'm gonna change this now. Nobody's in line, but there aren't many guests at the park. Out front of the park, I'll do sort of more of these classical Roman style. I think it fits in well with the garden theme. And this one can open. So running out of money again, I'll increase the loan. This will get paid off surely as more people come in the park. But this is going to be a big ride that, oh, and this ride isn't even open yet. That would explain why there aren't so many people in the park. I'll disable the music on the merry-go-round. This ride will last a while in terms of bringing people into the park, so I'll do a 10 weeker on this ride. At $10 a person, that advertising campaign will repay itself in a very short amount of time. I'll remove some of the trees right here by the support structure. Underneath here, I'll remove some of these as well. It's nice being able to preserve some of the foliage that comes with the ride, or the park rather, to begin with. It does get in the way, but we didn't have to remove all of this here. Some of it remains. As far as this over here, not many trees at all were affected. The path, once this path gets reconnected, I may just tunnel it down or something to reconnect, but it's not in the way right now because only the front half of the park is kind of running or operating, and I'll add some fencing here. Going to focus more on the rides and less on the scenery for this scenario because it is a very high guest requirement. Not that you're, pressed for time per se with this one, but it is a fairly high guest requirement, and it's good to keep building rides as you can. Research. The Corkscrew roller coaster was researched, so that could be a very good second coaster for this park. A corkscrew coaster can be built very big or it can be built very compact. And considering this ride takes up a big chunk of um, this corner of the park, a more compact kind of boomerang style or shuttle style corkscrew coaster will be very high profiting and do well for the park. I don't see any litter or anything like that yet, but this ride, I will expect that this ride will cause some more commotion as it is the only thrill ride in the park. Not too many people queuing for the flat rides, but that's to be expected. As more people come in the park, the lines will fill up as well. A lot of the guests are making their way over here, and I'm sure that the burger bar, yeah, hasn't sold anything yet. Both of these stalls are open, but the park just opened. So, a couple months into the year, a little over 120 guests, so a tenth of the way to the goal, and only three rides are operating in the park. Most of the land is still available for use, of course. So I'm just going to go ahead and look. I haven't done a hedge maze in any of the parks yet. A car ride may work as well. There is enough land, certainly, in this scenario to be able to do that. And there are a lot of roller coasters. The pirate ship will also be available for use. One nice thing about the monorail design is it can also be used as a shuttle design. So I was thinking about doing it around the lake before, but the coaster may have kind of taken up a lot of that space. So the monorail may be able to start, say, station right about here, but it may be able to do a shuttle design to the back of the park. And that could also work to transport guests. It would be a very quick ride cycle and be able to generate money. I don't think that this park is at the point yet, though, where it's going to need a transport ride because the majority of the paths are cut off and only a half or a third of the park's total path space, probably about half, are in use. I don't really want to construct a boat dock, so both the looping coaster and the corkscrew coaster are available right now. So I actually think I'm going to disable roller coasters and focus on thrill rides and gentle rides, get some more flat rides to use because there are a bunch of custom rides that are available off the bat. And those were definitely researched while I was building the wooden coaster over here. So I'm thinking right here. I was talking about either a shuttle corkscrew coaster or a looping coaster before. I think right in this space right here, there isn't too much you could do. You could certainly start a coaster here, but the terrain around this area is not very forgiving. And if you come anywhere over here, you're going to begin running into the trouble of having to remove the scenery. So maybe a small shuttle coaster in here. We don't have too much money, but something cheap enough that will get people in the park and get things going. And I think I'm gonna go with the boomerang. I don't like doing the canned designs as much, but this is very cheap. It does already come with scenery, and it does have a high intensity rating and excitement rating. So I'm gonna go ahead and loan another 5,000. That will leave 40,000. So that'll leave another 10,000 to use if I cannot get the money back quickly here. So the first Boomerang, it would be nice kind of to build it in this orientation. It does have a queue line already built in, so what you see is kind of what you get, but I may have to go with this style. And I may even connect the path to this flower garden right here. Okay, so only about half the trees were affected by that. And I can connect the path to this midway. I can connect this one somewhere over here. That will definitely work. Maybe fill in the two here for the flower gardens. And then this path can continue around the flower bed um, to this side of it. And then this side can continue right down the midway. Get rid of that fence. And it sort of creates kind of a small plaza. Oh, and I really did not mean to do that. Okay. So I'll begin testing it here. The colors I'll change. I'll give it sort of the typical Boomerang color scheme, the teal and the white. Um, Definitely sort of fits in the park. It is a brighter park with more scenery items and such. And for the trains, I'll also give it um, the Boomerang color scheme. This support beam right here should be white. There we go. And I will paint the top of this building. I will paint this all teal to kind of match. I think it looks pretty good. I mean, the options for kind of building the looping coaster or the corkscrew coaster in terms of a shuttle design, you're either going with a boomerang or you're going with a shuttle loop kind of. So to me, it we haven't used a boomerang yet in any of the scenarios, and I'm fine with that. Um, I'll also paint the fencing teal here. Why not? Looks a little bit better than the white. So that's gonna loop around there. Careful not to paint any parts that shouldn't be painted. These three get painted teal. These two as well. Okay, so that's pretty good for right now. I'll give it the simple boomerang name because I'm feeling very creative right now. And another ride that will generate $6 per ride. So very good for that one. This handyman, I'm actually going to allow him to walk around this plaza now as well, because people are certainly going to get nauseous riding this attraction. And this is a good point to also add some benches in right near the ride. They will be needed. Maybe a couple of bins. And I'll finish off that fencing there. The rope fencing starts there, so add that in on this side. And maybe some rope fencing around here as well, just to kind of seal it off, make it look a little more professional in a way. Looks pretty good. And some rope fencing on this side. I'll probably fence in a lot more of these midways as time goes on, but right now I'm focusing on the rides and how the rides look, sort of. There's no reason to go overboard with the fencing, especially when money is sort of running low here. But 200, probably by the time this coaster, the advertising campaign and this coaster are all said and done, there should be about, 350, 400 guests in the park at least. Two major coasters now, a couple of flat rides, and I'll get to work with installing the next one here. There is a lot of space to use up here at the front of the park. The back of the park is a little more hilly and terrainy, but there is a lot of flat space up here to use. So that's very beneficial, at least to get the park started. Okay. So, in terms of what else I have, the spiral slide, not really that interested in that right now. That might be a nice little attraction to put in around one of the corners of the lake, even maybe right in here. But I think coasters, this park is good for the time being. These two coasters, the attendance is still going up, so their popularity hasn't worn off yet. I think the focus now should be flat rides, just to kind of supplement what's already inside of the park and and attract some more guests as well. So, um, okay, so this pathway is cut off as of right now. I'm not going to introduce this area yet, just because there's nothing in the back of the park. The pirate ship, I would like to put it along some water. In the last scenario, Diamond Heights, I kind of did build it over one of these creek or river type of boundaries. There is nothing really over here on this side yet, so over here you have the major coaster. In the center of the park you have some of these rides, so it's probably appropriate to build it over here. And I won't build it over the water just because that bridge is there. In order to keep the path sort of on land, I'll just build it adjacent to that river. And I probably should. Um, I'll put the entrance on the other side here just so that there's some more space for the queue line. This guy's getting excited right here. He's already ready to ride the pirate ship. Queue line. I'll do some kind of odd queue right there and maybe put some plants in the center of the queue. I'll go with a long program for this one with 20 swings. Start testing it. And maybe I'll give this pirate ship sort of a dragon kind of theme. I like the way those colors look, and maybe a gold for the supports. I don't know why this. It's kind of gaudy. It's kind of a weird color combination, like a bright neon green with the mute red and gold colors. But I don't know why I was feeling kind of a dragon theme for this pirate ship. Um, Dragons. Um, I don't know. Dragon's Fury. Dragons. We'll just call it Dragon's Fury, I guess. Sort of like the Pharaoh's Fury pirate ships that are out there. But looks decent enough. Be able to get $2.50 out of it. So just adds to the collection of rides that are already here. Almost approaching 300 guests now, and you know, only half the park is developed at this point. So there's still all this land back here, and even this is approaching the end of year one now. But even considering going into year three, year four, these rides will end up losing popularity. This land will be needed for more custom coasters and large attractions to bring some of those guests back into the park. So I will dress up this ride a little bit as well. Just considering that it's alone back here, maybe go with sort of an olive green or a pale green for the sky. Builds the fence over to this section of the park. Um, yeah, and other than that, maybe build the fence around the ride like this. Just something kind of to add a little bit to it. Typically, I would put in, and I might even do that now. Just add some rocks in the center of the ride here. Give it a little more texture. Um, and some little bushes on the infield of the queue. Nothing special. Again, there are no scenery or theming elements researched, and I'm not going to put money into that. So little generic things to spruce up the ride, add to the excitement value, and give people something to do on this section of the park. There are a couple of food stalls here, but you got to go inwards to get to kind of the heart of the park as it stands right now. And Wicked Twister is the main attraction on this side. Okay. Oh my god, I didn't even realize that I didn't open up the information kiosk. That probably lost a lot of money. None of the guests have park maps, so I wouldn't be surprised as a couple months go by here if a lot of guests start saying that they're lost, because the only guests that will have access to the park are or to the park map are the ones that are coming in right here. This midway is getting pretty crowded. I'm not sure that there's much I can do right now, though. There aren't any complaints that it's really crowded in one area, but as more people enter the park, um, in fact, I wish it were light out. I can't tell if this is on a slope or not, but I may just um, increase the midway. That is also flat land up to there, but increasing the midway here to add some more space. I am kind of destroying some of the nice scenery here, but at the same time, that can be rebuilt. Things will work out better this way with more than a one wide main drag. So I will replicate some of this scenery that was lost right here. Maybe add that there. And then these trees that are right here, these can obviously be rebuilt. Um, Need a better angle. So this one's so these are just going a couple across. Yep. So a couple will be lost right here, but that's okay. And as far as these little trees go right here, these can also be built on a slope, so replace some of those. Add some benches and bins at the front of the park. Benches, trash bins. Yep. Maybe a couple here as well. The AI of the guests, a lot of them are going to keep going along this one pathway that was already established, but some of them will wander to the other side of it as well. It would have been nice to do a three across path. This way, this is sort of off centered right here. The park entrance is right here, so you'd have one widened path on this side and one on this side, but that's not really an option. Um, so that will add a little bit of size, though. The rest of these paths, it's very similar to Diamond Heights. There's really no other wide paths anywhere else in the park, but there's just so much path space that, except for the main drag, there aren't a lot of people lumped in one place. People are kind of spread out all along this midway. Okay. So almost 400 guests. That's what I was about expecting out of what's in the park right now. I'm sure that the advertising campaigns are wearing off a little bit, and not really gaining a lot of money back. The loan interest rate, because I have so much money out, it is a little bit more. But landscaping did cost a lot of money. Obviously, I just spent a lot of money right there widening this pathway. that took away from a lot of potential profit last month. So maybe I don't do any landscaping for a bit here to kind of recuperate some of this money. The information kiosk is open now, so that will um, give a lot more possibilities for getting some revenue in the park. And I think for the time being, I'm going to decrease research from 400 per month to 200. We have enough rides in stock that haven't been installed yet that I want to work on installing before worrying about developing some more. So both thrill rides are installed as of right now. I don't want to do the boat docks. Stalls should be good for the time being. There are a couple more roller coaster styles that haven't been used yet, but there are some of these gentle rides as well. I think I'm going to install a couple more of these just to give people something a little bit more to do in the park. I haven't done a hedge maze yet on any of the scenarios. You kind of need more of a larger space, a larger open space. This would be good, but it is on a diagonal. This is a little bit too small for a hedge maze, and I don't want to waste this land up here. This could be used for a coaster or another large sort of ride. I guess I could build right here, but then, like I just said, I really don't want to spend too much more on landscaping and removing these trees. This pathway right here, though, if I remove this, if I simply connect these two ends of it, this may be a nice, large enough space for the hedge maze. It will involve removing some trees, but it's a nice small kind of attraction that won't take up much room. And the Ferris wheel as well. The car ride I'll save for a little larger piece of space. Maybe something right here, an antique car ride, would work out well. I don't want to get into this can of worms of removing these trees. So I think right here will be a pretty good place to start the hedge maze. So I'll remove, and of course I'm gonna get dinged here with removing these trees. But this is kind of an ugly section of pathing. It really serves no purpose. It just will fatigue your guests a little bit more, if anything. So that will serve right there. And these guys are going to get lost. You're heading for Wicked Twister. I'll put you right there. And this guy can just go over here for right now. Okay. So I'll remove all of this. The removing the paths is offsetting the cost of removing the trees a little bit, but all in all, are going to end up in the red a little bit for the landscaping. I don't want to build too long of a hedge maze because then the queue time will get very long. I'm looking for something very small. That the hedge maze will fit in very well with the theme of this park, and it will probably look better than that pathway that was already here. Hedge mazes are also very inexpensive, and I'm not going to go for a custom design with this one. I'm just going to go for something that works. This one seems to be the best option. Takes up a very appropriate amount of room. I can build a queue line. Let me think. The exit should be right up against the pathway right there. That'll work out very good. Um, I will have to sacrifice one of these trees, but that's okay. I'll just simply bring it around there. Don't need too long of a queue line because people will wait a long time for this ride. Am I able? Okay, I did not realize that many people. I don't have any cheats enabled. Usually it's capped off a lot lower than that, but 64 people on the ride, this thing will virtually have no queue time, and people will be able to get in and out of it quickly. Not quickly, but because so many people can enter it at once. And there shouldn't be any complaints that it's too crowded in here because they are technically on an attraction. Um, I'll go with the classical theme again for the entrance exit here. Something cheap that will make its money back in no time. And it does have an excitement rating of 2, so I'll charge $1.50 to start. Um, it probably will go down over time. It'll probably decrease to $1 and then 50 cents as time goes on. I may remove it in the future for a different kind of flat ride, but for right now, it's cheap and it will serve the purpose of we don't have too much money. I don't want to take out more of a loan, so it's one of the cheaper options, sort of, to bring some more people in, I guess. I guess I can do like a Ferris wheel as well in this area. Sort of more of a gentle ride area. The Ferris wheel would be nice to build up against sort of the water right here. There are really no options at the time being for this area. Wicked Twister, though, is the main attraction back here. There is an observation tower also available. I may save that for somewhere in the back of the park. The observation tower can also serve as if somebody doesn't have a park map or if somebody's on it and they see an attraction across the park that they want to go on, the observation tower also does help with sight lines in the park and people seeing what they want to kind of go on next. In fact, I might build a Ferris wheel over here, sort of behind Boomerang, bring some more people towards the shops. Some people are already utilizing them, which is good. Okay, I might go with sort of a dirt path here, remove these hedges. And then the queue line, nothing too long for the Ferris wheel, just kind of bridge it there. That should be fine. I do like the colors that it has on it already. And I'll just keep it, generic Ferris wheel name. One rotation. It's only going to get $1, but cheap ride, something to start bringing in some money. I will add some foliage around it and other stuff. I removed a lot of these flowered bushes for um, the addition of the maze over there, so I'll add some more of these in as well. These look pretty nice. And maybe a couple of trees. These ones are pretty nice to use. Add a couple of them around the ride. That should help the excitement rating a little bit there. Can get $1.50 out of this now just by adding a few trees, so that was well worth it. Add some more of that hedge fencing. Just add it like that, so it kind of connects in with everything that's going on right here. Forgot to close in the back of these stalls because the stalls ruin sort of the little fencing that was pre-placed when the park opened. I'll just build this out to the bridge right there. Got a little seating area there that will be reconnected once more is built in the back of the park. But a lot of gentle rides in this park. The Scrambler is technically a thrill ride, but between the Ferris wheel, the Hedge Maze, which seems to be doing very good right now, and the Carousel, which isn't getting as many riders anymore, more gentle rides towards the front of the park and the back of the park, there is certainly room for some larger custom coasters. I don't want to say that I'm sort of running out of room yet, but this coaster did take up more than I was planning. This coaster is virtually taking up nothing, but unless I start to remove some more of the scenery, this may even have to be reduced in the future or eliminated completely to open up a lot of this flat land right here because that will be valuable. This will be tough to work around. There is some flat land here and there and there. but there is a hill right here as well. So just something to keep in mind. End of year one, we need 1,000 guests. I'm just about halfway there, and it is increasing. So that's a very good point to be a quarter into the scenario. But I got to remember to pace myself. I'm building a lot quickly here. It would probably be nice by the end of year 2 or 3 to be towards that 1,000 guest threshold. This way, a lot of people aren't leaving in year 4, and I'm battling trying to get from 800 guests to 1,000 guests back in the park. Okay. Something like a junior coaster might work good up here. I've done that before. There is flat space to put a station and build it around, sort of. I'm saving the observation tower. That would be a good ride to add somewhere right about here or here, so it's high up. People can see around the whole park of rides that they want to go on. Um, and I probably will do something like a car ride in this scenario. I may add a short steps slide or a lighthouse slide somewhere if there's a good space to put it. And here could work. That's exactly where I'm going to put it, actually. Right up to the exit, I'm pretty sure. Yep, that'll be flush. And then little queue line is all it needs. Oops, I cut that pathway off. Just something else to add at the front of the park. These gentle rides will not perform well for very long. Within a year or two, the merry-go-round usually does decent because it is a longer ride. But other gentle rides may have to be sacrificed. Single ride per admission, 5 people on the ride at once. I like the colors that it gave out, and I'll give it the name Helter Skelter, sort of the British name that is often used for these slides. And I'll probably be able to get $1.50 out of it as it stands. The excitement is raised by the fact that it is over the water. There are some trees around it, but $1.50 will be have to be reduced to $1 at some point. I'll also give it the classical sort of entrance. This area is a good place in the future to add some shops and stalls. The next closest ones are all the way over here, so this area will probably be used for that. And over here, the stalls will get constructed as more is developed. The park with the worst food in the country. Not surprising. There haven't been any complaints so far with just these. I may go ahead though and construct a couple in this area over here. So maybe replace one of the gardens with an ice cream stand and another drink stand. This can open. Ice cream, I'm only going to get $1.50 for, but it is what it is. There already are some benches in this area, so I'll just add some. I'll add some more benches, considering people like to sit down when they eat. Add some garbage cans. Guess I'm adding a lot of garbage cans here, but that's sort of a nice area. Once I get more food stands, this will fill up a little bit more. I'll add a few more into there, just to make it kind of a central food and drink area. So over 500 guests now. The problem with this park is though is with the landscaping costs, with all the other expenses, I'm not making too much money. It's amazing to think that with 500 guests in the park, that money is a bit of a concern right now. But the only two rides that are really making money are the two coasters. The rest of the gentle rides are only bringing in $1 or two a pop. So those definitely they're there to be the supporting cast of rides, but they're not bringing in revenue like the coasters are. So probably next ride I begin to construct will have to be another major ride. I'll just have to wait a little bit, either take out a little bit more of a loan or wait for the money to kind of recuperate, um, before I have the appropriate funds. I think I will build the junior coaster up here. That will be a moderate price ride, but I'll be able to charge probably $5 or so per admission. So that will make its money back fairly quickly. I should hire another mechanic as well. The rides haven't been going down yet, but one mechanic to cover all this space. In fact, I'll hire three. And a couple more handymen there, just because the park is growing, more people are in it, so more staff is going to be needed. That's going to hurt at the end of the month because, I just double or tripled my staff expenses, but it is necessary. The park rating is doing good right now, but you build more of these major rides, you build more food stands. If you don't have the staff to kind of upkeep them, and there is some litter on the paths, people will start to vandalize the benches and the lamps and the litter bins. I might actually add a ride sign for this. There we go. This might have to be a white. The black isn't showing up as well. Just add a little bit of theming to the ride, I guess. Haven't really put any ride signs in the scenarios yet. I do like that this design came with the station already built. This one's from the Six Flags. I think that the Six Flags over Texas one and Cobra from Walibi, Belgium, or Holland, whichever one, in RCT2, they both use the same station design. So it saves me from having to put in some more money to it, and it adds to the excitement value of the ride. Without the scenery, this would probably be a $5 ride, but with the scenery, it brings it up to 6. So the extra dollar helps. And go karts were just researched. I don't think I want to do go karts, at least not yet. There is a lot of flat space, but something like this I'd rather use for a coaster. And some of the other flat spaces, if some other good designs come about, I'll definitely save that land for those rather than spending it on go karts. I don't have anything against go karts. In real life, I'm not a fan of them in parks. They are usually upcharge attractions, but in the game, they typically perform pretty well, generate a line, they can generate a lot of money. So I'll hold off, but I'll keep it in mind that the go karts are now something that can be constructed. The Hedge Maze seems to be doing really well, though. There is no line because it can support up to 64 people, and 18 are on it right now. Um, Give me 1 second. All right, sorry about that. Got another phone call. All right. I heard music in the background. I had my noise canceling headphones on, and I'm like, did I put music on one of these rides? But no, it's just my phone. Um, okay. 552 guests, halfway to the goal. Start of year two. So hopefully by the end of this year, the 1,000 guest threshold will be reached. And probably by the end of this year, halfway through the scenario, I'll start developing the other half of the park. I just don't want to get into it too early because nobody's getting lost as of right now. The paths are, well developed. Everyone's getting their way around. Even though I made a bit of a blunder and I forgot to open up the information kiosk for a bit there, nobody was getting lost, and everyone should kind of have a park map now and know their way about. So 4 grand in the bank. I don't want to take out on the loan yet, but I do want to start thinking about building the next coaster up here. There is a decent amount of flat space. Definitely with the junior coaster design, I can build over this terrain over the midway, sort of, so I don't have to tunnel or really worry about terraforming any of this land. And there is a port right here where I can get an entrance and exit path in, connected to the midway without having to do anything crazy. I could also go with the mini coaster design, but I do like the junior coasters. They do typically have a very high excitement rating for the low cost that they are. Um, I just got to keep in mind here with entrance and exit. So I may position the the station this way, and I'll go right to the surface. Um, So nice thing is the curved lift hills with this ride design, so gives a much more flexibility in terms of not having to worry about building a straight lift hill out this way or making a turn and going up. You can certainly go right out of the station and start going up. And probably 65 feet is a little bit tall for a design like this, but that's fine. I don't really want to. Okay, so the park ends right there. I may go with this curved drop just so that I'm not worrying about interfering with the park boundaries here. And even though I said before I'm not going to tunnel or anything, maybe one tunnel. I'll see how this track goes, but one tunnel in and out may save a little bit of space and add to the excitement of this coaster. So a drop, it is at 65 feet, but it's really only about a 40-foot drop because this land is 20 feet above the surface below. Maybe I'll do sort of a helix, a large helix around. The coaster should still have decent speed here. And I'm thinking maybe something loop it around, bring it around one more time, and then come out a little bit farther and bring it back to the station. This design doesn't have to be too crazy. It is a junior coaster, but it will be another coaster to add to the ride lineup, get us over 600, 700 guests here. So maybe after the helix, another wide turn. Or maybe I go diagonal for a second. I do sort of a diagonal bunny hop into a turn, a flat turn, and then I drop off. If I do the wide turn there, it'll be interfering with the support structure. So this will probably be the most intense part of the ride laterally because it is a sharp curve, but shouldn't produce any crazy forces. And I'm just going to build it right over this helix if it will let me. Okay. I would like to try to dip back down and maybe do one tunnel, one innie and outie. Um, so I'll go right into a drop. There are no steep drops on this, so maybe I only go up like one block as opposed to two. Um, do another. Let's see where this gets me. Yeah, no, that's gonna run right into it again. It would be nice to have a steep drop here. In RCT1, there were steep drops on the junior coasters, but given that it's open RCT2, they modified the junior coaster design so you can't do the steep drops, which I guess is more realistic in real life. These zero style Tivoli coasters don't have any steep drops. It's more shallow drops and banked turns and helixes. So, trying to think of what I wanted to. Maybe I'll bring it instead. Maybe I'll bring it down to the grounds and I'll wrap it around this way. This will give me some clearance. And I guess I could do sort of another bunny hill instead of just straight track. Little bunny hills, it'll be more of a family coaster. I was going to do the tunnel, but if I enter somewhere around here, I'd have to come out pretty close here. Um, Sort of a double down element. We'll see. Okay, now. So 20 feet will get back to there. Yeah, that's probably good enough. Not the most creative or greatest coaster design, but it is, once again, just a junior coaster. A couple sections of brakes. I wonder how many cars. It'll probably be something like 6, 7 cars. Yep, 7 cars with that length of station. But there will be 2 trains, so it will move people very quickly. I'll boost the lift speed as well. This is kind of a very traditional medium-sized Zero Tivoli coaster. A few of the parks have them. Six Flags Mexico, I believe, has one. Knott's Berry Farm has a custom-designed Zero Tivoli called Jaguar, but Zero has produced these, all the way down from a simple oval layout that does multiple laps to more of a custom design, um, this sort of size. So this is very traditional of what would be seen from this style coaster. And actually, I am going to put the exits closer to the path because this needs to be flush with there. And then the entrance can be sort of a bridge style queue line, goes over the terrain and cuts back inwards. Normally, the entrance would be closer to the front of the station, and the exit would be to the middle or the rear of the station. But this is a video game. Realism doesn't go out the window, but not everything is certainly um, too up to standard, if you will. I will give this one a bit of a different station. The jungle theme looks nice for this sort of a ladybug outdoor coaster. This kind of looks like an old shed or a shack. So this ride does slow down quite a bit on the infield of the coaster here, but it will pick up some speed on its way back to the station, and very moderate, very moderate speed coaster for a family ride. This will probably get a 4.5 to a 5 excitement rating, which isn't bad considering it's only taking up this much space. Yep, exactly that, about a 4.5 rating. And this leaves, a lot of the major coasters will end up going in at the back of the park over here. This is just something to fill in the space, add a little bit more to the front of the park, and I will add some more hedge fencing as well right here. Kind of close in this. I'll add it along this path as well, just because the coaster's up there now. I'll add it to the end of this, and that should be good. Or Yeah, there's only a few more blocks. Close it in. And then the pathway, there is a railing, sort of um, a boardwalk, if you will, going upwards. I'll do rope fencing in between here. Kind of fits the railing a little bit better. I will add some more trees and stuff to the middle of the ride, see how much more excitement I can boost out of it. But the main priority right now is getting this path in. This way, this path won't interfere with the pillars because I won't be able to get more of these unless I research the classical theming, I believe. I already did demolish one of the statues. If you didn't see earlier, there was a statue right about here. But in order to fit the scrambler ride in, I had to. There was a path that looped around this whole thing. I had to remove it, and I removed one of the statues thinking I could replace it, and I wasn't able to. So a bit unfortunate, but um, this would be long enough of a queue line for this ride, but I will loop it around again, sacrifice the trees, because I do plan on adding some more. These trees look pretty good. Level land is required for this style tree. So maybe I add a couple in here. Um, cool. Oh, this is a very odd style tree. I don't think I want to use it though. These look good as well. Kind of a foresty type of coaster. Close it in a lot, considering that there aren't any other theming elements really. Oh, I already have one there. Add as many trees as possible, you know, sort of make it a foresty kind of ride. I'll add a couple in there as well. Guests are complaining about the disgusting state of the paths. I'll add a couple more handymen. I don't think I need them so much, but it is really a big park. There may only be 600 guests in the park, but there is a lot more space than I'm used to having. Not too much money left, but I may just, you know, give this coaster. I've liked using this sort of muddy design, and it is costing a lot, but that's good enough for right now. Just to add a little bit of texture to the infield of the coaster. Um, I like the colors as is. I think I will keep it a ladybug sort of theme. Um, I'll call it Ladybug Dash. Seems like a very generic kind of name for a coaster like this. But 4.62, so it'll still be a 450 coaster, but that, you know, $455 for a junior coaster of this scale is very typical. And with two trains, it will be able to bring in some money right away. I will put out an advertising campaign for this ride for as much as I can afford it. 6 weeks would be $1,200, so that leaves me with a very little amount of money. I could take out some more loan, but I think I want to cool it with that, save it for a larger attraction back here if this money isn't regained quickly. For some reason, it might be because I'm using a little bit more staff. I have a few more rides than typical, but for some reason with the scenario, the money isn't recuperating itself as quickly as other ones. A ride like Wicked Twister over here is bringing in a lot of money. It is a high ticket attraction, and Boomerang and Ladybug Dash will also be, you know, larger revenue generators. But other than that, the general rides in the park certainly do not bring in much revenue. Let me try to see here. There is a bit of trash around here, so I may specifically designate one of these handymen to this area back here, because this litter's been here for a while, and I actually feel like my mouse might be dying. I've had this mouse for years, so it wouldn't surprise me if I need to get a new one. That's something that I'm going to look for tonight is probably a webcam, a new microphone, maybe a mouse, and a UPS for my computer, just to improve the quality of the streams and sort of, build on what I have. Depends how I click. The mouse sometimes feels like it's sticking. Now it feels okay. Maybe there was just something in it. Okay. So 613, beginning of year two, that's pretty good. Probably by the end of this year, 800 to 1,000 guests will be the target. Hopefully, at least 850, 900 would be a good value to hit. This ride will certainly help that. Probably the 750 to 800 range will be obtainable with the advertising and just with what the ride is and how many people are in the park right now. But I have a feeling like a lot of people will start leaving unless more major investment is put in. Wicked Twister isn't filling all the rows. It doesn't have that long of a queue line for what it is. Same with Boomerang. It's only got one train, but there hardly is a line there for it. And a lot of these general rides, these two throw rides have a line, but a lot of the general rides, there's virtually no line for it. And let me just make sure that okay, people are going on it. It's just not that popular of a ride, so it'll probably be best to start investing in another major coaster. This can be considered a major coaster, but something more along the lines of a very large custom Wicked Twister style in the back of the park. There is a lot of space. I don't believe that a hypercoaster is something that is researchable in RCT1, but there is a lot of lateral space back here that a very large out and back coaster could take up the rear of the park. Maybe something smaller here, sort of a train coaster that does tunneling. Um, Over here, maybe something that interacts with the water, sort of. And there's definitely still space for some flat rides. The observation tower, this would be a really good space to put it, either here or over here, because back of the park, it'll allow people to see the whole park. Observation towers for gentle rides usually do a little bit better than the average gentle ride. More people will go on it than, say, a Hedge Maze or a merry-go-round or the Helter Skelter type ride. Um, so I haven't used the corkscrew coaster yet. I don't believe I'll be using the mini coaster for this scenario. Or yes, I have used the corkscrew coaster. But the looping coaster I haven't used yet. Using another corkscrew coaster wouldn't hurt in this park. This is more of a shuttle design, where a traditional Aero corkscrew or Vekoma corkscrew could also be a big ticket attraction. I don't know if I'll go for another wooden coaster just because of the space they take up and the money they cost. This was a very big investment to start out the scenario, and I don't necessarily think that it's made its money back just yet. It's performed a lot weaker than I suspected it would. I'm probably going to stream for about another 10-15 minutes. We are, nearing sort of the middle of year two, so probably the end of year two in the next 15 minutes or so. And then tomorrow or the day after, probably tomorrow, I'll pick up with the rest of the scenario. But I'll see what I can get done in the next 15 minutes or so. Probably another couple of attractions, hopefully, installed. I do want to start thinking about maybe not the whole back of the park, but maybe, half of this or this section open up just to allow for some more space and some more land possibilities. There is still, I wouldn't say a ton of land to develop on this side of the park, but there is still a lot of land. And there are a lot of attractions here where back here, one or two attractions, people will go all the way to the back of the park just to ride those sort of thing. I don't know which side I want to open up first, though. This side, if I were to go for a large out and back coaster along here, this side is more ground level. This side is up. Um, Guests will certainly become more fatigued by climbing up this hill as opposed to they can climb up this hill, but the major attraction, I'll probably remove this elevated walkway in the back of the park and make it level grounds. Um, just it doesn't even look all that good. So this is one that I usually tend to remove whether or not I open up the back of the park or not. Almost 700 guests though, so things are moving along pretty good. Without the landscaping costs, this park is profiting. It has been profiting, but months with heavy landscaping investment, which was expected, the profit tends to go away because you're essentially building a ride and paying, almost as much for the ride in landscaping. This may be a very good option back here. And guests are complaining about the amount of trash. The thing is unless it's in an area that I don't see it, I don't think that there is a lot of trash around the park. Certainly these two areas are patrolled now, and these were the areas that were accumulating the trash. But I don't really see any over here, and this is an intense attraction. And I don't see any on like the main drag or the main midway, and there is no vandalism. So unless that message was carrying over from before when I, put a handyman over here, but I don't really see any trash unless I'm missing it. This area is staying pretty clean with all the bins, the food area. I mean, there's one right there, but certainly one piece of litter isn't going to um, send a message. Diamond Heights, I would say, in sections was worse. I don't believe there were any patrol areas that I set in that park. Um, I also got to remember if I reconnect this pathway, I probably will have to tunnel this down a little bit to go underneath the wooden coaster. There's not enough clearance right there to go under that hill. I am kind of leaning towards this section of the park. So what I can do, I don't know why I am, but removing that will cut that off. If I get rid of this elevated walkway, it'll also give me some extra cash to spend. I don't know what's underneath it. I don't believe there's a path there. No, there is not. But if I remove this down to here, that brings us back down to level ground. And if I let's say I cut this off over here as well for the time being. So people will be able to come through here, walk around this relatively small area. Um, in fact, I should probably reconnect it at least to here. Um, oh god, I totally lost it now with. So remove that, so that will cut off that entrance. Remove that, will cut off over there, and this part of the park is still cut off. That's not a worry at the time being. So what if I were to just, you know, reinstall this, see how far over this takes me. Maybe I do maybe I do a diagonal walkway over here. Um yeah, no. I'll go inwards one and then just connect it like that. So, yeah, that's a little bit more than what I wanted to do kind of, but it isn't the whole park. This will still be cut off. I'm hoping that guests will not get lost with this much of the park open now. That'll leave about a quarter of the park or so undeveloped yet. This I'm going to get rid of for the time being. So that's cut off there. This connects all the way to here. Um, so then that leaves. Okay, I don't want them going over here. That one's cut off. That will lead around there. So I can reconnect this now, and I will reconnect right here. And people will start making their way back. They already are. But this will allow for me to Definitely start developing back here, opening up some more of this lands. Um, it should be okay. I do want to get rid of the gardens up here because no handymen have been taking care of them. I will put the observation tower in. I was going to go for the launch freefall for a second, but the observation tower, um, certainly beneficial. I'll build it, you know, almost 200 feet tall with the elevation that it's on. It's certainly over 200 feet, almost 300 feet. Um, the queue line can sort of go in there. Yeah, I'll just connect this pathway there. And then the queue line can sort of loop around a little bit. This will just give people something more to do. I'll paint it white and like a light blue. That looks, uh, it looks good on the top, but it's a little too light. That looks pretty good. Um, I like the way that looks, sort of. And then for the tiles on the bottom, maybe a lavender kind of color. And I'll just call it like Sky Cabin. So hopefully this gets a bit of an excitement rating. I'll hire a couple more mechanics and a couple of security guards just so that people aren't vandalizing things. I will have to add some benches back here. This area is pretty well developed with the bins and the benches, but this was a pathway that I just constructed. So 3.76. So 350 to start. That's really good for a gentle ride. Um, and maybe a music for back here. There is no music, so that'll attract people to the ride. Sort of close this in a little bit. And I'm probably gonna get hit big time with the landscaping budget for this month. But the money is starting to roll in a little bit more as well, so that's definitely good. Yeah, no, the park is still profiting. That will help with the next major ride. I really hope that people don't start to get lost. Don't start to get lost back here. Um, I would like to build a coaster all the way back, but I was also just thinking that something like a car ride or a gentle ride, either over here or over here, would work well. But I guess I could build a small car ride. If I modify this path again, I could build one in this sort of area. I'm going really heavy on the gentle rides here, but you know, closing in on the end of year two, at 800 guests, that would leave 2 years to get an extra couple hundred guests. Certainly, with 2 to 3 more coasters, probably around 2 major coasters, 1,000 guests is very obtainable. And I'm just gonna check on something really quick, see how much more time I have to stream. Okay, so I have about a half an hour more, a little bit more time than I thought I had, but that's cool. Um, I'll leave the generic entrance right here. I went pretty heavy on the Roman theming up in this section of the park. This one has the generic entrance as well, so I it is probably a good idea to add another restroom information kiosk in this section of the park as well. Um, Good place to put it. The first restroom is all the way up here, so I'm thinking maybe something like right here. It's sort of a central area. You could put it back here, but you could put it up here. So this is kind of in between the two. And I will also build another information kiosk. Wow, I just built this and it already broke. Great. I don't know how many park maps will be sold, but it will help for people who are lost back here. Um, but also, if it starts to rain, umbrella sales from this end of the park, that will also help. Okay, so I pretty much built everything but the haunted house and the car ride. I'm not going to build the haunted house. Maybe I will go for the first car ride that I built in these set of scenarios. Coasters are still the same. In fact, I should probably. Oh, bumper cars will be researched. That's one ride that I wanted to get because this ride will do well in the rain. The bumper cars will do well in the rain. Thrill rides, I do have a couple of those that I can build as well. So maybe I'll focus here on getting another coaster design for the next big one. And maybe bumper cars either right here or right here in this area, just to add something else in this section of the park. Although they are gentle rides, the observation tower and the bumper cars generally do perform pretty well. People will go on them and you can charge a bit more for them. So they're sort of smart investments. And they are both covered rides. So in the rain, it gives people an option of more things to do, more things to go on, because they will avoid the coasters and thrill rides and outdoor rides. The bumper cars could go right here as well. Yeah, there's a lot of these hedges here, so maybe the bumper cars right here would be um, a good place to put them. I want to preserve this, and here it's a little bit crowded. Bumper cars will require 3 blocks square space. I may also have to start adding. Okay, this guy's close by, but I may have to put his patrol zone in this section of the park. The other guys, I don't know if I want to put them all down to one section, but maybe one guy will handle these three, one guy will handle this section of the park, one guy will be here, and a couple will be floaters, wherever need be, whoever's closest at the time. Okay, so bumper cars, that will pretty much line up well there. Um, the exit can go right up to the path right here. Entrance, I will need some space for a queue line. Um, well, there really isn't much space to. Maybe it wasn't such a good place to put it. I wish this extended out one more block so I could just build the queue line there. Um, I don't really want to disturb this type of courtyard either. So let me think. Oh, I never reconnected this section path. That will certainly lead to some problems. Um, let me take care of this path before I open the bumper cars. So chances are I will have to dig down a couple here. Move this. I don't know what I just removed from that path. This will help me see. Okay. So this will certainly have to dip down a bit. Okay, I'll have to it's a little bit more. Okay, that will work. So sort of a little dip under the coaster there. But that's all connected now, so I totally forgot about this. The coaster was kind of shielding it there, and that dead end would definitely lead to people saying that they're getting lost or stuck. Um, Now I got to figure out where to put the entrance and exit for the bumper cars. I really don't want to disturb this path if I don't have to, because I don't want to remove this. This is nice. Um, all right, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm actually gonna lower the terrain one block over here so that I can just simply reroute this pathway around the courtyard like that, and the queue line will go right in here. Okay, close this off. Let me just open this as is. People will go on it while the rain's stopping. Colors, maybe the darker red. The brown looks okay. Um, and something like green cars. Yeah, I'll call them Evergreen bumpers. Name doesn't really matter. And I'll turn off the Dodgems music because Sky Cabin is kind of supplying music to this area. I'll also extend the time here. I'll be able to get about $3 out of this attraction with a 2 minute ride time. I'll repay some of the loan as well while there's a little bit of extra money in the bank. That'll help with the monthly payments for the loan. I was also going to add some um, food shops back here because there's only a couple of them in the park. So I guess I will add shops and stalls to the research as well because I believe that I've already used everything. Yeah, there's already at least one of each of these. So maybe something like a pizza stand or um, a pizza stand, a fry stand, popcorn. I'll be able to build a little bit more variety in the back of the park. I haven't been getting any complaints though that guests cannot find the food. I will assume though with this amount of land with the little plaza over here and the food over here that I will need some back here. But there is an information kiosk and a bathroom. This is already profiting, so I'm sure that the umbrella sales just helped that stand a lot. And a bathroom, so there's a couple of everything I guess for the guests as of right now. Yep, $3 for Dodgems, which is good. A couple of $3 attractions right here. I guess I'm gonna have to reduce the cost of the slide to $1 to try to get some more people on it. And this ride is seems to be causing some problems. This guy, he's gonna get limited to just this area over here because Sky Cabin seems to be causing some problems. There will be some more rides in this area, so this guy will cover the far section of the park. 778 guests, so approaching 800 at the end of year one. I'll do an advertising campaign for the park, try to get about 800 guests. That'll leave 200 guests to get in 2 years, which is very doable with another major ride or two. I should, if I didn't already, increase the inspections. Yeah, 20 minutes. So the downtime should be cut down now that there's a specific mechanic for this area and more frequent inspections. This thing shouldn't cause as many problems. Probably a good idea to add one more handyman for the time being. Okay. Maybe I will do a little car ride in this area for the time being. It would be nice if the pickup truck design is available, but maybe only the sports cars will be. I'm not sure how research works with that. I don't want to demolish all of these trees either, so do a little dip maybe. I do plan on extending it over the bridge right there. So maybe I'll do that right now. Spinning tunnel. I could add a couple of these here just to increase the excitement rating. Spinning tunnel. The coaster, when I build it, the big coaster that I want to build back here, yeah, it may interfere, but I can definitely lap it around so that it, goes right over the car ride. It won't really, won't really cause any problems for that. Um, so let's see. Couple of sharp turns right here. If I have a lot of cars running on this, though, I don't want them waiting on the final dip. So, very generic. Kind of goes around this little cherry blossom area. Little dip into the spinning tunnel, over the water a couple times. Pretty cut and dry. I don't expect too much out of this car ride, as far as like excitement value goes or anything like that, but just will add to the park. It is a cheap attraction for the time being while I'm waiting for some funds to recover. It would be nice if I have the pickup truck design. I do. That fits in very well with sort of the theme of this park. Give it sort of a road color. And the spinning tunnel can be maybe an orange and gray, orange and black. So sort of a construction zone kind of. And that's what I'll call it. I'll call it construction zone. There are kiddie rides out there, kiddie car rides with that name. I think either Eli Bridge produces it or they may have at one point. And I'll do 12 cars. Go with the rope fencing. Lead that just right up to the edge of the fence right there. Close it in. And I'll do the rope fencing on the interior here as well. Just up to the end of the fence. Maybe some dirt in the interior of the ride. Yep, that looks pretty good. Would be some rocks here as well for the areas that I didn't hit. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Other scenery, I don't know. Other scenery that I could put in here. These are pretty cool. The doors will actually open. So I could put in a little hut, just a tiny little and I just dismantled the whole thing that I built. Okay. Okay, so I'll be careful not to do that again. So with the spinning tunnel, the little door right there, maybe I'll add a little sort of bridge kind of underneath there. Give it a little rustic kind of look. I don't think it will let me. I wasn't trying to do this, but it'll do. And I just deleted one of them. My mouse is really acting up now. I'm probably gonna have to dig out a different mouse. And that little wooden fencing. Kind of do one of these deals, like a little entryway in, back into the garden area. How does jungle entrance look? Kind of looks like a little old HUD. I like that. 2.93, so 250 ride for wow, 184 per hour. This car ride might have been a bad idea. I wonder how many people actually go on it, but just add something to the back of the park. Fill in some of this land. 858 guests now. Park rating is not stellar, but it's a good enough cushion over the 600. Adding some more staff, patrol zones, some more food into the park certainly will bring that park rating back up. There are no blatant problems with the park as it stands right now, so I already had an Evergreen Gardens. Use me. Okay. Don't want to overwrite the wrong file. I know that I haven't saved this one yet. I got to get in the better habit of saving more because I've never really had problems with OpenRCT2, but I have had it crash a couple times that I've tried experimental type of features. Um, so I got to get in better habit, especially on these longer scenarios, to save more often. This guy, that might be a stretch to have him go all the way around there, but we'll see if this ride has any downtime issues or anything. Then I need to put a patrol zone in for it. I hope that it does get somewhat good revenue. Usually the car rides don't. That's why I've strayed away from building them. I thought I did a decent job here, though. There's a lot of scenery around it, and I put in, a little bridge and a little hut, so they just don't get too much revenue, and they cost a little bit more to operate and build because obviously they're custom sort of rides. Okay, just close that one off. I'll do this side too for the time being. Why not? And this really, even though the park fence is there, this should really be closed in as well, considering the rest of it is. There we go. This ride's doing a little bit better now, which is good to see. This is pretty much the top revenue earner for the park. A lot of these gentle rides aren't doing so well in terms of popularity, but how's the maze? Okay, people are still in the maze too, so that's okay. I think two more major coasters, maybe two coasters and, one sort of custom ride will be enough for this park. Rounding the corner of 900 guests, certainly with another advertising campaign that will help the purposes of bringing some more people in and getting over that threshold. Two coasters should be enough to generate over 1,000. And I may go for a dinghy slide or something near the water in this scenario, as my advertising campaign just finished. I'm hoping sort of for maybe either one large coaster. I'm really fond of the idea of building a large sort of out and back hyper style coaster in this area, and maybe something smaller, a twister type of terrain coaster somewhere in this section. So one back here, one up here, and the dinghy slide can interact either over here with the water or there's water over here as well. Typically, I don't like the dinghy slides, but I'm trying to do a little bit of variety, not build the same things in every park. Obviously, a pirate ship and a scrambler will probably be staples of every park, as would be a wooden coaster or a design like this. But I did do a hedge maze before. The slide was pre-built in the last scenario. I haven't done a car ride or an observation tower at all yet, so adding a few more of the rides that I haven't done. And the park isn't doing all that bad for halfway through the scenario now, only being a little over 100 guests off the target. That's definitely obtainable, especially considering the amount of lands that's back here. The money is coming in a little bit better now without all the landscaping work. I will have to start paying off some of this loan, but the interest payments aren't all that much monthly. That's the cost of like one more staff member. So once I'm done with researching and I can pay a little bit of this back, that'll be one monthly expense that will allow more money for rides to be built. What else do I have? Wrong one. So I'm pretty much done with the gentle rides now. I built everything but the haunted house. I'm not going to build that. I still do have a looping coaster here that I haven't used. Oh, mine train coaster as well. Mine train coaster might be a really good idea to build in this park, especially with the terrain. That could work very well. So I'll put, and we will be getting the fry shop. I will put some money into water rides as well. Thrill rides, I still have two designs, I believe, that I haven't used yet. Three of them, actually, including the go karts. I don't think I'll do those in this park, but a couple more thrill flat rides that I can fill in the blanks sort of over here as need be. And I could also put a monorail. I have been talking about that since the beginning. Maybe if a major coaster goes in here, a monorail station. Maybe cut the hedge maze or put a station here and have it transport people to near the station of that ride. Or there's even options over here, something over here to here, depending on what rides go in and where. Um, Something like a large coaster could work to a station here, build it out this way. It could go right over the car ride and not really interfere with anything down here. The mine train may be better suited for over here because it can tunnel into the terrain. There is a lot of flat land for a station. I have also done a bobsled coaster over here before. I may revive that design. I actually called it Mudslide, and it was probably the most popular ride in the park. And I did have a wooden coaster. I did have a junior coaster up here as well. So a couple different ideas for that. Certainly, there are rides on the board now to start constructing, and I will put some food back here as well. Um, I'll for the time being, I'll just put the fry shop here and the drink stall here. I'll try to charge $2 for the fries, but I don't know if people will be buying them. No, they will, at least for the time being. So, pretty much all areas of the park now are covered with food. There are two restrooms. Nobody's complaining about any of that yet. So, and some bins around this area. If I need more, I'll install more, but that should be a good start for just a couple of food stands back here. This ride actually is getting a little bit of line now. 7 minutes, a little bit on the long side, but once you start approaching 8, 9, 10, that's when it's a little more troublesome. I think it's doing just fine for what it is, and let me see what the actually I can get rid of this minimum dispatch time. That should help with the revenue a little bit. It's profiting so far, modestly. That's what I really need right now is to profit, pay a little bit of this loan off, um, because the park is bringing in some more money, hovering at about 900 guests. I will run another advertising campaign for the park, a 6 weeker. That should help bring in some more. All right, so start of year three, I think I'm going to save it here. I'll probably be back tomorrow with the second half of this park, finishing it off. Um, Very near the goal, good on time, still have a couple of years. I certainly slowed down. I was very aggressively building rides at the beginning, ran out of money, and then I kind of slowed down before I started developing this area. But this area is open now for a major ride, and very soon, there's not much path left at all. I can certainly connect these if I have something up here and start putting in another ride, another couple major rides to cap it off, maybe one more tracked ride like a dinghy slide to fill in the areas and add something else for people to go on. And yeah, that will do it for today. Thank you for watching. If you have, please consider subscribing. Visit the website amusementmemorabilia.com. We are on Facebook as well and YouTube. And I'll keep going with these streams. They will be uploaded on YouTube as well, and some more content will be coming in the next week or so as I get some more hardware for my computer. And yeah, thank you again. I'll be back very soon.